Well, good morning, everyone who's just joined us. My name is Kim Ewan, and I'm a business advisor with VBC. I join you today from the traditional territories of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations, and I invite you to write in the chat whose territories you are joining us from. I'm very excited to be hosting the webinar today, not only as a business advisor with VBC, but also as a fellow entrepreneur. I'm a strong proponent for small business grants, and I access them for my own businesses and those that I am involved with and invest in. So if you have any questions for me about my personal experience with any of the topics discussed today or any of the specific grants, which I do have some firsthand experience with, please feel free to write them into the chat or I ask them as we go along, because I'll be stopping for questions and you can unmute yourself. Here we have the agenda for today. I'll start with a quick overview of who we are and what we offer for those of you who are less familiar with VBC, and then I'll dive into the top myths that discourage small business owners from applying for government grants and discuss the facts of how they actually work. And then we'll go into some specific grants that are available to small businesses that are not specific to any industry. And then I'll also share some links to some other grants that may be more specific to your industry that for you to take a look at. And we'll close with some grant writing tips and other considerations when you apply for grants. I'll be sharing a lot of links with you. Don't feel the need or don't feel you have to write them down. We will send you this slide deck and a list of the resource links in the follow-up email, along with the recording of the webinar. So please take this time to ask any questions you want to answer and want answered, and take in what you can, and hopefully it will have an impact on your business. Who are we and what we offer? VBC was formerly known as Women's Enterprise Center. We rebranded in November 2021 and are now known as VBC. We are a nonprofit funded by the federal government and have been supporting women business owners throughout BC for over 25 years. We offer an integrated approach to support women entrepreneurs at all stages of their small business journey. We offer small business loans of up to $150,000 to help you get started in business. And this means that the loan can be used to start a whole new business or buy an existing business. Our loans can also be used to help finance the growth of your business. And we are what's called a development lender. So we take a holistic approach and provide loans based on your business viability, not solely on the formulas like traditional banks and other lenders do. We provide loans for a diverse series of industries, and we support you with integrated services, including complimentary training, mentoring, and business advisory. We offer personalized business advice, again, at all stages of your entrepreneurial journey, including startup, growth, and exit. So if you have specific questions or seek guidance on overcoming business challenges, we have a team of business advisors who help get those questions answered or connect you with the resources to get you in the right direction so that you keep moving forward in your business. Our skills training program offers practical training on a range of topics that are relevant and important to small business owners and those that are pivotal to running a small business. We offer this training in a variety of forms, including webinars, in-person workshops. We have published resource guides that you can print or download or purchase for learning at your own pace. With our mentoring program, you can connect with a one-on-one mentor or be part of a peer mentoring group for support and inspiration. So it's our integrated approach that gives you access to a supportive community of peers fellow entrepreneurs, and a network of influential women entrepreneurs and subject matter experts to help build your networks and raise your business profile. You can learn more about our services at we-bc.ca and sign up for our newsletters to get notified of our new programs and offerings. And of course, on our website, you can see how you can connect with us on social, by email, or by phone. Okay, so with that, let's dive right into today's topic on small business grants. Now, according to Granted Consulting, 10% of small business owners took advantage of $26 billion of government grants and tax credits. Many businesses don't believe they qualify, or they're just discouraged from applying because of the many myths that exist around small business government grants. Among the top myths are shown here. The first is that grants are readily available for underrepresented groups, such as youth or women entrepreneurs. And the reality is that while there may be grants geared towards Indigenous business owners, you're going to be hard pressed to find any Canadian government grants for small businesses where the eligibility criteria is that you belong to an unrepresented group. The second myth is that grants are only available for large corporations or large companies. And the fact is, grants are available for businesses of any size and are available in a range of industries. However, there is a larger selection of grants for businesses that are incorporated and businesses that have been operating for at least a year or two. The third myth is that grant applications, are long and complex. And this may be true for scientific research grants or innovation grants, but the application process for small business grants is relatively simple and is continuously getting streamlined. And it often just involves answering questions about your business and some multiple choice questions to gauge eligibility. Remember, the government actually wants you to apply and receive these grants. And they want you to take advantage of it because the grants are a method for them to stimulate the economy. So they're continuously making efforts to encourage you to apply. So how do small business grants work? Well, a government grant is essentially money awarded to your business by the government with no expectation of being paid back. The government grants usually fund specific activities intended to generate economic activity, and typically that's employment and job creation. The grants take the form of a one-time grant or one-time program, or they could be recurring, which means that they occur at least once a year. An example of a one-time would be the most recent Launch Online grant, where businesses received funds to invest in their digital online activities. And then we're going to be discussing some recurring grants today, which typically are in the sphere of hiring and training. Startup costs and operating costs, such as business permits, rent, utilities, supplies, and so on, are generally not eligible for grant funding. In fact, there are few, if any, government grants for funding business startup activities. Recent COVID grants and subsidies for operating costs are exceptions, and they're not the norm. Generally speaking, if you're a new business owner, you're not likely to find a grant to cover startup operating costs. However, you can access hiring and training grants, which are more readily available for small business. So you can access a hiring grant to train someone to help with marketing or social media, or you can access a training grant to help pay for the courses for your staff or for yourself to acquire the skills you need in your business. Each government grant has a different set of eligibility criteria. They have different terms and different conditions. Some are administered by the government, but some are administered by partnering organizations on behalf of the government. And each organization will have their own processes. The eligibility criteria is determined by the government, but the process is managed by these partnering agencies. And the good news is that they are getting more streamlined with the use of technology. It's also important to note that government grants are typically reimbursements. Again, COVID grants being the exception. This means that cash flow planning is important because you have to front the payment of the expenses and then submit proof of payment to get reimbursed. Again, this is the COVID grants are an exception, and there may be more coming up where the grants are being awarded in advance, and then you're expected to save the receipts in case of audit. But this is not the norm. Okay, and now we're going to go into specific grants that small business owners often don't take advantage of, but are readily available. The BC Employer Training Grant is a great resource for businesses who want to get some training for employees or for yourself. The mandate for this grant is, hello? The mandate for the grant is to provide British Columbians with opportunities to access skills training to be employable. To access the grant, employers must be operating for at least 1 year at the time of application. And the grant incentivizes employers to invest in the training of their employees so that you can get the skills required to meet your business needs as well. And you can receive reimbursements for your training costs from 60 and 100% depending on the training stream. And the training streams are shown here. The new training stream is training stream 1, which is the COVID-19 impacted worker training, where you can get 100% of the training costs reimbursed, up to $10,000 a year per participant. These grants are only applicable to the 10 industries that had the most challenges due to COVID-19. And those industries can be seen on their website. I won't go into too much detail on that today. The Workforce Training Grant reimburses for 60%. And this is a great grant because it supports training that aligns with the employer's business needs. So you define your needs and you select a training program that meets those needs. And this can include soft skills training, management training, leadership training, and so on. And you receive up to $5,000 for that. The technical training stream reimburses 80% and supports training to operate new machinery or equipment, to learn new software, anything technical, to acquire any technical skills. The foundational training grant reimburses 100%, and it supports training to gain essential skills. For any restaurants or out there, this training stream would reimburse you for food safe training for your staff, first aid training for your staff. For any daycares out there, this stream is available to get your staff the early education certificate and any other industry recognized training. Obviously, university training and post-secondary courses are not eligible for any of the streams. If you are self-employed, you are eligible for all the streams except stream 1, which is the COVID-19 impacted worker stream. The training program you select has to be delivered by a BC-based trainer unless there are exceptional circumstances. And this grant is recurring, as I mentioned, and it has 3 intakes a year. The most recent intake is available now. And it is for training dates that go up until March 31st, 2022. The government fiscal year end is March 31st. And so all the new programs and so on, new funding is typically announced, April, May. And that is on the BC training grant. Do we have any questions on this grant before I move on to the next?
I do, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Are the dates the same like year to year? Is that what this means?
No, no. This is just the most recent intake that is accepting applications now that I put here. There's typically 3 intakes a year, and those dates could vary. In fact, the criteria for the grant can vary year to year.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And these are just for, and they are based on the training dates. So you can submit your application and get an approval before the training date begins. So you know in advance whether or not you are approved for the grant.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, of course.
Are there any like requirements that the provider has to be, like, besides being BC based, do they have to be registered in some way as a provider?
That depends on the stream, and the information on that is posted on the website.
Thank you.
So just an FYI, so for example, my husband and I own a real estate development and construction company, and we got him a grant to take management training from a private company that offers the training. So it doesn't have to be a college or a specific school. These were private trainers, and he went. The stream was the workforce training stream.
I have a quick question. Are nonprofits eligible for any of these grants and training streams?
I'm going to be honest, I don't specialize in nonprofits. They likely will be, but we work mostly with for-profit organizations. So that was always been my focus.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
An employee already to apply for the training?
Sorry?
Does there have to be an employee already hired by the company in order to apply for the grant?
Technically, yes, but they don't have to be full-time employees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And of course, you can, put in the application first, perhaps even before the employment date starts. I'm just going to go into the application process just to show that it is relatively straightforward. The application is online at skillstraininggrants.gov.bc.ca. You will be asked to register for a BC ID, and that's just an account that enables you to securely apply for these grants. When you sign up, you can actually save the grant, save the application, and return to complete it. So you don't have to complete it all at one time.
Sorry, may I ask one quick question?
Of course.
I got here 15 minutes late. I'm so sorry. Is there any way you could give me a quick just recap of what happened in the first 15 minutes?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of information to cover, and I want to proceed. But you will be sent a follow-up email with a link to the recording of today's session. So you can always go back. And I also mentioned, and I'll mention again, you don't have to worry about taking down the links. You will receive the links and again, the presentation as well. So
amazing.
You can access them.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have one question as well.
Of course.
Yes. Regarding the deadlines or the application deadlines.
Yes.
If it's referring to an education training, you've had to take the course first, have all the receipts, and then apply for the grant? Or
no, you can apply for the grant to see if you are approved. So you can apply for the grant before the training starts, but you will be reimbursed for the training after you've paid for the training.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So yes, you can apply first and see if you are approved for the training.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. The information that you'll need to apply for the grant, I have a little screenshot of the application here. You'll need your North American Industry Classification Code, your NAICS code. There's a link where you can find it there, or you can also just Google NAICS code Canada. You'll need to prove that you have been in business for at least a year, and that just means providing either a statement of registration of your sole proprietorship, or a certificate of incorporation, business certificate, business license, and so on. You'll need the details of your training, the description, dates, the cost, etc., which of course can be on the course syllabus, the contact information for the training, the participant information or your employees' information, and of course, you're gonna have to submit a business case, and that may sound more intimidating than it is. This is the business case here. Okay, it's essentially 5-6 questions on, what your business offers, why you want the training, why you selected this specific training program. You have to note also that the business case requires you to research at least 2 other alternatives, and then just explain why you chose this specific course. I know the boxes look a little, there's a lot of room available for you to write it. A tip that I'm going to give you is to just be concise, and you can just answer the question honestly. Longer answers do not mean better. Again, your answers are not being scored on how articulate they are and how detailed they are. They are just looking to see if you qualify for the grant and you meet the eligibility criteria. So concise answers, longer does not mean better. Okay. Any other questions on the BC grant before we move on to the Canada Summer Grant, Canada Summer Jobs Grant? Okay.
Kim, we have a question in chat.
Oh, yes.
Was wondering if they are eligible if they have already started the program.
I do not believe you are, although you may be wrong on that. Yeah, I'm going to reflect or deflect to the website for that.
Hi, I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah.
For the grant, after the grant has been received, does it need to be reported in the income tax return at the end of the year?
Well,
as income?
Yes, it's recorded as income, but then the cost for the course is an expense, right? So it kind of is a wash.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The Canada Summer Jobs Grant. The mandate for this grant is to provide youth with experience and opportunity to develop and improve skills. This grant has been offered for quite some time, and so it recurs each year. Employers receive funding to hire youth. Youth is defined as being between the ages of 15 and 30. The job has to be full-time for a minimum of 30 hours a week and has to last for at least 6 weeks. The employment time frame is April 25th to September 3rd this year. And under this program, you're eligible to receive 50% of the provincial minimum hourly wage cost, which in BC is $15.20. So you receive $7.60 per hour. Okay, and this is a great grant for anyone who has businesses that perhaps require more staffing in the summertime, and it could include cashiers, warehouse staff, construction laborers, etc. Okay.
Hi, sorry, can I have a question?
Yes, of course.
So I have been looking at some grants regarding summer jobs, but some of them only apply for companies that have previously payroll. Is that the same for all the grants for summer jobs? Like, do you have to have previous payroll?
If you have to hire an employee, you have to have a payroll account. And that's as simple as just contacting CRA and saying you want to open a payroll account.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and your payroll account is essentially the same number as your GST. It's just that your GST ends in RT0001. Your payroll account will end in RP0001. And you can access all of that online through your My Business account. Okay.
I have another
Hello.
question.
Hi.
Hi. Does this limit to the amount of people that you can apply for?
Yes, I will get into that. This grant, you can apply for several positions. So you don't have, you can have the same, say, cashier, you can apply for multiple cashiers. Is that your question?
Yeah, like, is there a limit, for example, like 5 people, or there's no limit?
There's no limit, but there's no guarantee that you will be getting what you ask for.
I see.
Okay. So if you ask for like the whole 16 weeks, typically they will give you 8. The average received under this grant is 8 weeks at $35 an hour.
Can I also ask one more question?
So, no, sorry, 35 hours a week, sorry. Sorry.
Can I ask a question? Is it limited to the type of position you're hiring for? Like, let's say you wanted to hire on like, it's for your social media, like a photographer, a videographer, like, but you're meeting all the requirements of what it is that they want per week. Can you do that?
Yes, of course. There is no limit on the job description or the job title.
One other question I have, and I don't know if I'm correct or incorrect about this, but I believe the total grant is for $25,000, and you have to.
No, that's a whole different grant, which I will talk about later.
Oh, okay, perfect.
This is the Canada Summer Jobs Grant, and it's intended to employ youth for the summer.
Okay, remember the screen you had before this where it was about employee training? Like, before you did it.
That was the BC training grant?
Yes. Is there a maximum for that, or for that grant?
Yes, there is a maximum per participant per year. And that that doesn't cover wages. That covers your training course.
The training cost, yeah.
Yes.
And the employee, I'm assuming, would have to be on payroll kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great.
May I ask one more question on this one? Is it possible, if you've already hired a student before this time, to apply this? No, they have to be a new hire?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, I'm asking if when you're applying for this grant, for the summer job, do you have to have the student's name on there, or can you just apply for the application, or do you have to have that person's name on there?
You do not have to have a person hired when you apply for the grant, because you're applying for the grant. Applications are due January 25th. This grant opens up in December of every year. Applications are due January 25th, okay? And they could be submitted online using a predetermined form. You can also open a grants and contributions online services account, which is the same as the BCID, except this is for federal and the BCID is for provincial. It says you can apply in person, I presume, at a Service Canada site, and you can also apply by mail. When you apply, you'll receive your funding confirmation in April of 2022. So once you are approved to hire, you can go ahead and start hiring.
Sorry to interrupt, just to confirm, so they are reimbursing 50% of the minimum wage, right? So they're not covering the full amount.
They're not covering the full wage. So you get about $7.60 per employment hour. And as I mentioned, you typically will receive 8 weeks at a max of 35 hours a week. So if you need more staff than that, then apply for multiple positions. So not just one, I'm going to say cashier, apply for, however many you need.
Quick question.
So I can apply for, like, if I have a clerk that's working right now and she's just part-time, could I apply for this?
She's
For her
already
to be
an
full-time?
employee. She's already employed. This is for new hires.
Okay, then, thank you.
So one other quick question for this. If you're applying right now and you need the positions, but you don't know who's going to fill them, is it just based on the position, or do you have to know who you're hiring as well?
You don't have to know who you're hiring. You can hire after you have been approved for the grant.
Okay. And does it have to be minimum wage, or they only cover half of minimum wage?
They only cover half of minimum wage. You can select any hourly wage you would like.
Okay. All right.
Can you put this slide back?
Oops.
Yes. The
Sorry?
previous slide. The previous slide.
This one?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. As I mentioned, you will be receiving this slide deck in the follow-up email.
Okay.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
This is any applying for any of the grants that you mentioned, will it disqualify you if you have already applied for another of the grants that you mentioned?
It depends on the program, right? Some programs are stackable and others are not. So each program has a different criteria.
Okay, thank you.
But you can apply for the BC training grant as well as the Canada Summer Jobs Grant. You can, as long as the criteria doesn't say that you can't receive it if you've received the other. It's all dependent on the grant program. Every program's different.
All right, thanks so much.
Sorry, quick question. If I hire, say, if I in my application plan to hire, let's say 10 people, and I'm approved for 5 people, then can I, by that time, can I shrink my headcount to 5 people instead, and vice versa? If I apply for 5 people, but I ended up needing 10 people, then what would happen?
You can apply for additional.
Even after the application acceptance?
Yeah, exactly. You will receive it based on, you know, however many people they approved you for. Yeah, and as I mentioned, you may not receive everything you've asked for.
Right. So if I apply for 10 people and I only got 5, then I can shrink. It's okay to shrink to 5 and then just get that, right?
Yes, but you can't go from 5 to 10.
Got it. Thank you.
Kim, I have a quick question. If I was to apply for Canada Summer's job grant, would the person I hire be a temporary employee, or could I do it on a contract basis? Say I only need them like 10 hours a week.
This particular program requires them to be an employee.
Okay, thank you.
But other programs may allow you to have contractors. Again, it all depends on the actual program. Okay. The question, do family members qualify for this grant? Each grant is different. I believe this grant does allow you to hire family members. It just you just have to make an attestation saying that you know, they were not favored for the applicant for the job because they were family members. This attestation usually that is involved when you hire family members. All right, I'm going to quickly move on here because I do have some other grants that I really want to notify you of. Okay, I'm not going to go through this in detail, but essentially this is the information you need for the Canada Summer Jobs Grant. Very, very straightforward application. Ideally, you have to just describe the tasks and responsibilities of this person and answer some yes or no and multiple choice questions. Okay. The next grant I want to talk about is a new initiative. Previously, it was only available to tech companies, but because of COVID, it's been open to all businesses. It's called the Innovator Skills Initiative. For those looking to hire someone for a tech role, which includes digital marketing, website development, social media, and so on, you may be interested in this particular grant. The mandate is to help underrepresented people get a job in BC's tech sector, and then also supports companies facing skills shortages. It's open to any BC-based company hiring a tech role. And again, tech is defined as, it's loosely defined, but it can include digital marketing, social media, app development, and so on. Okay. You can receive up to $10,000 to hire this employee who self-identifies as being as belonging to an underrepresented group. They have to be eligible to work in BC, and they have to have completed training on or after December 1st, 2019. Now, as the employer, you can determine the adequacy of their training. They don't need to have attended university or college, as long as they have attended a training that you feel is sufficient for the role. As an example, they could attend the Hootsuite social media training if they were going to be a social media coordinator, right? You can receive up to 10 grants for 10 different employees per year under this grant.
Sorry, one more question. What is the underrepresented group? Like, what qualifies that?
There is a list that they have on their website, but that includes youth, women, disabled. Someone is actually putting that on there right now. LGBTQ.
Okay.
Okay.
Does this person need to be a student or no?
No, they do not need to be a student, but this program, they can be.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does it have to be full-time employee?
I don't recall. They could be part-time or full-time. Under this program, they could be part-time or full-time.
Last question. So you know how you've touched on different grants? Can you combine these grants, or are you limited to one?
It all depends on the parameters of each grant. So the Innovator Skills Grant does allow you to stack with the Canada Summer Jobs Grant.
Okay.
Okay. So every program is different.
Okay.
I have a question. It's for new employees, or it could be also for employees that we have now in staff?
I can't hear you. If the question is, do they have to be an employee under this program? I believe they do.
I think
no, I mean a new employee.
Pardon?
It's for new employees?
Yes, it's for a new employee. It's for an employee that has been hired between June 1st, 2021 and July 15th, 2022. So if you hired after June 1st of this year, you can get retroactive payment for this grant.
Kim, I'm going to interrupt for a second and ask if people can please hold off their questions till the end and post them in the chat. We'll try to make sure we answer most of them at the end. You also have
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you, Netta. Sorry, I'm just want to move along because
thank you.
Other questions, but I do want to get all this through as well.
And you have an opportunity to connect with us after.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Netta. Okay, so under this program, the job placement has to be a minimum of 4 months. They can start no later than June 1st, 2021. If you apply now, you can have them start no later than March 15th, 2022. They could be part-time or full-time. Applications are being accepted now until March 11th, 2022, and you can apply online. There is actually going to be an information session held on this particular grant, and I encourage you to attend. It's being held January 19th from 12 to 1 p.m. And you can register at this link below here. We will send you the follow-up email as well. Another grant that is similar to the ISI is the Digital Skills for Youth grant. I think someone had mentioned the $25,000 grant. This is the grant here. The mandate for this grant is to increase the employability and marketability of youth in BC. It's open to any BC-based company with less than 500 employees hiring for a tech role. And you can receive up to $25,500 to cover 100% of the salary of this youth intern. Youth is defined again as being between the ages of 15 to 30. Okay. Under this grant, they have to be a post-secondary graduate. So they don't have to be in the ISI grant. Under this grant, they have to be. They can be an employee or a contractor. And again, they have to be hired between April 1st, 2021 and March 1st, 2022. Under this grant, you as the employer have to provide mentorship for the intern. Okay, this program is already at capacity, but it is being waitlisted. So the application is pretty straightforward. I do encourage you still to apply and be waitlisted. Applications are open until January 31st, sorry, 2022. And just so you know, if you get approved, you only have 3 weeks to hire a employee. And so people who have been approved but didn't hire, they essentially put that position back into the pool and give someone who was waitlisted that opportunity. I have some experience with this grant. I was waitlisted and I got approved in November. Other hiring grants, I'm just posting here that for you to look into. The hiring grants from the government are typically to promote youth employment. So, 3 of the 4 here are for youth, but there is the Experience Matters grants that allow you to get a subsidy to hire workers age 55 and over. Some upcoming grants that you may be interested in.
Sorry, Kim, what was the 55 plus one? Sorry, that was really quick.
Sorry. It's just a note here. Again, you will be receiving this slide deck. It's called the Experience Matters grant.
Experience Matters grant.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Right. You're very welcome. Some upcoming grants. The Grow Your Business Online grant. This program is intended for smaller businesses, such as restaurants, tourism operators. Eligible businesses under this program will receive micro grants of up to $2,400 to help with the cost to adopt e-commerce opportunities with the help of a youth digital advisor. This program is not yet open for applications, but you can subscribe to get updates. The Boost Your Business Technology grant is also an upcoming grant. This grant is intended for small and medium businesses in such areas as small manufacturing or food process operators. The grant will cover 90% of the cost to develop a digital plan up to $15,000. Eligible business can then receive a zero interest loan of up to $10,000 from BDC to execute that plan. And they can also receive a wage subsidy of up to $7,300 for youth hire. Again, this grant is not yet available for applications, but you can subscribe to get updates.
Kim, do you know what develop a digital plan means? Is that just a plan or implementations of anything?
That is yet, the parameters are yet to be published. So I don't know the answer to that. Okay. All right. And I just listed some other resources here for you. The first is the Government of Canada grant database, where you can search grants that your business could be qualified for. And then the others have some grants for specific industries or events. If you're in the agri-food or the seafood sector, you may be interested in the BC partnership program. It provides cost sharing funding to help with marketing efforts. If you're an Indigenous entrepreneur, you want to contact your Aboriginal financial institution, and they can provide you with further guidance on grants available to you. Pocketed is a company, a local I believe it's Vancouver-based company actually, that has developed a grant matching platform. Their website is hellopocketed.io. They offer a platform that matches you to grants for your business based on your search parameters. Okay, they offer a free plan that allows you to filter, search, and be matched with grants, but the free plan doesn't push out alerts for new grants. The alerts come with the paid Pocketed Plus plan. But if you're just going to log in and do a search for grants and check in yourself, you don't need to subscribe. But if you want the alerts, of course you can, and then some of the other offerings here, they are kind enough to offer us a discount of 26% for anyone who wants to sign up. If you go to their website and if you sign up for a basic plan, enter the WeBC Women code, and you'll get some added features and benefits as well. This code expires January 31st.
Excuse me, Kim, do you have an idea of how long the grants take to approve or to get any reply?
That all depends on the administrator. So it all varies. So for example, the Canada Summer Grant, they are saying that you'll get an answer April. It's a long time, from January to April. And other programs, it could be as quick as 2-3 weeks. It could be 6 to 8 weeks. It all also depends on your place in line, which segues into some grant writing tips. Small business grants are typically first come, first serve until funds run out. So even if there is a deadline, if the funds run out, they will change that deadline. So I encourage you to get your applications in as soon as possible so that you have the highest chance to get the grant. For example, the digital Skills for Youth grant, I believe that was at capacity within a week or so, within a week or two.
All right.
Okay.
But as long as you apply within the window that's open.
No. As I mentioned, it's until funds run out. So they may have put a deadline, but if all the funds have been allocated, they will change that deadline.
All right.
They will just reach capacity. So that's why I say, timing is of the essence. And you'll see that in other grants as well. The Launch Online grant, I think they closed a good month before the deadline. They said, that's it, funds have run out. Same as the BC Recovery Grant. The deadline was originally April, it got moved to June.
Okay, thank you.
First come, first serve until funds run out. So the deadline can change. When you go through your grants, give concise answers. Longer does not mean better. Again, the grant reviewers are typically checking for eligibility. So they're not looking to be sold on giving you the grant. And lastly, submit all your documents at one time. Reviewers hate it when they have to go back to you and ask for information and then wait on you to receive it. All right. If there's a checklist, definitely go through the checklist and submit it all at once. Other considerations when you are taking advantage of hiring grants, it is up to you to find the candidate. So it's up to you to do the recruiting, to attract strong candidates, to offer benefits or opportunities for these candidates. So invest some time in HR, and of course, keep in mind that recruiting can be very time consuming. So you want to be prepared to spend the time to review resumes, do interviews, etc. You also may want to allocate a budget for posting and marketing your job. Again, with hiring grants, you will be required to provide training for these new hires. And in some cases, you have to mentor them as well, because these are meant to be opportunities for the candidate as much as it is an opportunity for the employer. Lastly, while grants are great, they should not be relied on to be a regular source of funding to sustain your business. Some grants are just one-time programs, and even with the recurring grants, the eligibility criteria can change. So when it comes to grants, it's wiser to consider them to be a good bonus rather than depend on them to finance your business. Okay. All right, we've almost come to the end of our session. I want to thank everyone for joining us here today. Netta, did you want to launch the poll at this time, or do we have a few minutes for questions?
We do have a few minutes for questions, and I have a few questions for chat for you.
Sure.
So on the summer job grant, somebody asked, can you apply if you have been in business for 2 years but not registered?
Well, if you've been in business for 2 years, are you doing business under your own name?
If the person that asked this question can clarify, yes, I see in the...
Yes, then you are a sole proprietor. You just have to call and open a payroll account.
Okay, great.
Okay. For the digital skills for youth, is it for Canadian citizens only or residents eligible as well?
The eligibility criteria is that you have to be able to legally work in Canada.
Okay. When do most government grants and programs get launched? April or May? Since year end is
it all varies. It's all different, yes. And the recurring ones are a little more predictable. Like for example, the BC training grant has those 3 intakes. The Canada Summer Jobs Grant typically opens up end of December, and others are all random. Yeah. But typically, a good time to look out for them is April, May, June, during Q1 of the government's fiscal year.
Excellent, thank you. Another one, the Grow Your Business grant says it is for small and medium-sized businesses, and then the eligibility criteria says it's for nonprofits. Which is correct?
It just means it could be both.
What does the grant follow-up process looks like if approved?
Again, that's also different, and that depends on the administrator. For example, the BC training grant, you just have to submit your receipt for payment once approved. The Canada Summer Jobs Grant, it requires, and the other youth hiring grants, they require the applicant to fill in a information profile on themselves just to make sure that these employees are eligible, and so they may have to submit their proof of education, proof of Canadian citizenship, or eligibility to work in Canada, and so on. So you are correct in that there is some administration that follows the approval, but typically the bulk of the work is done, at that beginning, and then you just have to submit your proof of payment. In which case, for hiring grants, that's a payroll stub and a bank statement showing the money withdrawn from your account. And it's important to note that when you submit that type of information to the government, you can redact everything except that one line that shows that payment.
Excellent, thanks. I have had no income for my business for 2 years, but I did not formally close. Could I qualify?
It depends on the grant. There are some grants that have revenue as a eligibility criteria, and some grants do not. I do not believe that the Canada Summer Jobs Grant has any revenue requirements.
Okay.
Nor does the BC training.
Thank you. Kate, I see your question about the WBC loan. I suggest that you contact the client services or your BA. Can we connect with someone to make sure we qualify?
Can you connect with someone?
That's a question.
Typically, the eligibility criteria is laid out for you. You can also contact the grant provider. They typically answer all the questions you need. And they also have information sessions, such as the one that the ISI grant is holding, where you are able to ask any specific questions or get clarification.
Somebody asked about the recording. Yes, the recording will be available on our website. I will send a follow-up email when it is ready. For the hiring grant, can one of the small business owners be hired to work for this business through this grant, or are business owners themselves not eligible and it has to be someone from outside?
It depends on the grant. So for the BC training grant, if you're a corporation and you are an employee of that corporation, yes, of course you qualify. For other training grants, for other hiring grants, it is unlikely that the owner would qualify.
And our last one, do you know if the innovation grant can be used for a startup business?
There is no requirement to have any revenue. So yes, you can be a startup.
Okay. Let's squeeze another one because we have a few more minutes.
Okay.
I'm a business owner and I'm living in Canada, but I am not a permanent resident. Am I eligible for training grant?
The training grant is applied by the employer. So you would talk to your employer to apply for the grant.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
Are we allowed to ask questions now?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I actually attended this hoping to get some insight on grants for expanding my business. So I was wondering if there's going to be a follow-up session for grants specific to that, because I was actually looking at the Jobs and Growth Grant from the Government of Canada, and I wanted to get insight, but we didn't even touch on that today. So
these grants support activities.
Right. So
the activity
jobs
will
and
help you. Oh, go ahead.
Right, the Jobs and Growth Grant. So it supports both job creation as well as expanding, the strength of Canada's economy. So that's the grant that I want to go for because my business is ready to scale up and we need, increased manufacturing capabilities more so than we do hiring. So that's why I attended. I just want to know if there's plans in the future for a session that's more focused on this type of grants, like expansion and growth.
Well, as I mentioned, grants are more activity focused, right? And so I was focused on the activity required to expand, but it's a great idea. And in the follow-up email, I would definitely suggest that we offer it, and we welcome those suggestions. Thank you very much for that. And it's great.
I
We would like a follow-up session.
Thank you. Yeah, part 2.
Yeah.
Kim, if I can just add to that, we're always happy to hear your thoughts and ideas. And if you have suggestions for topics that you want us to cover, then please reach out to us.
I posted here the upcoming sessions that we have, upcoming training that we have. Again, we are funded by the federal government. So our training is either low cost or no cost. Something that could be of particular interest for anyone looking at hiring is the February 17th session on Build Your HR Strategy Toolkit. If you're looking to bring on staff, that is an excellent session to attend.
Can I ask a quick question, Kim?
Yes, of course.
So my company offers programs, and 2 of my programs, because I looked on the federal government and the BC websites of trying to figure out grants, and it's overwhelming, is that 2 of the populations for 2 of my programs are, how to describe them, populations that need help. So I didn't know if they're, like you said, the grants are for activities. So if the programs are to help, which the 2 of them are, is for people or for women in particular that have gone through domestic violence or trauma, is one of them, called Goddess Rising. And then the other one is for helping people that struggle with addictions or mental health or things like that, is my other program. And people had told me, because of course you hear things from lots of people, is that people had told me that there are grants available if you're helping certain populations.
Yes, there could be, and those are more specific. So let's take that offline. And if you want to contact client services, they can, connect you to a business advisor who can assist you with that specifically.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kim.
Because there may be some opportunities for you to perhaps qualify to be a grant recipient. So for you to receive income, or for the attendees to be reimbursed for their attendance of your program. Sorry.
Well, it's more of to try to help these programs get off the ground. Yeah. Like it's more of that. Yeah, that's
so there could be some grants that specifically for holding events or holding certain programs, but that's outside the scope of this session.
All right, I'll contact client services. Thank you.
Definitely. And then, Nana, did you want to launch that feedback poll? We're just asking that you take a couple of minutes to answer these very, very quick questions so that we can get some feedback immediately for the webinar. And again, as I mentioned, you will be receiving a follow-up email with all the resources and a link to a short survey where you can be entered to win a $50 Visa gift card. Just to share your thoughts. We're always looking to get feedback on not just the webinars we have held, but for future training as well.
I have a question. Yes, I just have a question. I have my own company, but the people I hire at this point, I don't have no one in payroll. All of them, they work like companies, like
contracts. Yeah.
So contractors. Yeah. So with that, can I apply to the loans?
It depends on each program.
Okay.
Some programs allow you to hire contractors and others do not. The digital services, the digital skills for youth, in that program, you can actually hire a contractor. So the marketing professional does not have to be your employee, but for other programs, they do have to be employees.
Okay, thank you. So I will search for that.
Yeah, just always look at the eligibility.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I guess we are at the end of our session. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to hearing your comments, and definitely visit our website to learn more about us and sign up for our newsletter to get notified of our upcoming sessions.